The Class 185 is finally finished, but it's caused me all sorts of problems, so stay tuned and all will be revealed. Well, good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly. Now, before we get started on today's video, I just want to show you these. Now, when I went to the BRM show at the NEC, I come across Peter Townsend, who was on the 2mm scale stand, and we just got talking, and I said, I'm looking for some insulated wheels and some other N-gauge wheels, and he said, I've got loads. He said, give me your address and I'll send them to you. And bless his heart, he did exactly that. And look at these. Right, I thought I'd bring you into a windowsill where hopefully you can see a little bit more clearly. Now, what we've got here, and I'll point in front, we've got an axle which runs all the way through. This is a standard wheel, okay? So the metal axle is as one solid bar, and you'll notice just there, this is quite difficult to film, so just bear with me if I'm a bit wobbly. There is a plastic collar running around the axle and then into the wheel itself. Whereas this side, it doesn't have that. The wheel is literally bonded to the axle itself. So therefore, the wheels on this occasion are isolated from each other. So you can run these wheels on a standard track. But if you were to have metal cups both sides, which is what I have in this one particular bogie on the 350 setup, you can instantly see that a metal bar or a metal axle would cause an instant short. So that won't work. Now, these are the wheels that Peter sent me. And I tell you what, these are the wheels that I've been after. I spent quite a long time wandering around the NEC last week at the show, talking to loads of people about these types of wheels and having very blank looks coming back at me. But these types of wheels, if I focus on, say, this wheel here, they're all exactly the same. There is a plastic tube running across the middle there, and therefore the axle is only about that big, and the same on this side as well. So the metal wheel is bonded to a metal axle, but the metal axle only goes a little way into the whole axle itself. The plastic tube takes up the distance. So that is set to the gauge, and then you literally just push these wheels on. So there is a gap here in the middle, so that this side of the wheel is totally isolated from this side of the wheel, including the axles. So when you put these two, this sort of wheel, into those metal cups I've been referring to, there is no way it will short because they're totally isolated from both sides, including the axle. So Peter, I am so grateful, and I thank you ever so much. I can't tell you how grateful I am. I can honestly and finally say the 185 is finished. I cannot believe how much of a struggle this particular train has been, but I'll go through some of the things, and you hopefully, if you choose to ever build your own, then you will see some of the things that I encountered. All right, before we go any further, let's have a look at the livery. There you go, traditional transpennine. And you can see I did manage to get some water slide transfers that actually worked. Right, now I did draw the livery into my favourite package, which just happens to be Microsoft Publisher for this particular application. For me, it's simple, but again, if you choose to do this, you have to choose whatever program you want to do it in. But it's a case of looking at photographs of the real thing and finding out what the livery lines up to. So I noticed the livery went through the corner of that door. It came to pretty much in line with that part of the transpennine, through the middle of the window there, and so on and so on and so on, until you get the livery right. Once I'd done one side, I then flipped it over And then because the livery is not going to be different from one side to the other, it'll literally just be the same, but obviously flipped through 180 degrees. So that made life easy. But then it was a case of starting at one flat end and then measuring the windows and making sure I'd got them in the correct order. Now you can see how long it took me to get this. I mean, this isn't all of the prints I had to do, but I've got one of the models here. And so obviously another print. And then I folded it in half through the window section just there. And then placed it on, making sure I lined up with the end there and see if all the windows are in line. And if they're not, I had to do another reprint and push the windows to the left or to the right, whatever it might be. So all the windows, when I finally did the water slide, they would be lining up with the model's windows, which I think is obviously quite important. But just to give you a much closer look there, I think that's come out quite well, really. I'm quite pleased with that. It's not massively sharp, but I think it's sharp enough. And bear in mind, this is N-gauge. And you can see, yeah, I think the colours have come out a tiny bit dark, but I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm quite pleased with that, and that's certainly going to be acceptable for my idea on the layout. There is the roof isn't quite as sharp as I'd like it to be, but I've got some plans for that, which I'll share with you in the coming weeks. But anyway, onto the transfer paper itself. Right, so this was the water slide transfer paper that I actually went for. There are many brands available, but as you saw before, I did have a couple of brands which failed. This is Hayes. It has got very good reviews on Amazon, so, you know, I'm not trying to advertise this, but you have to make your own decisions about what you buy. But I bought white, and it's suitable for an inkjet printer. Now, you can buy clear, so if you want to leave your windows and not cut them out, you can do that. But do be aware, any clear water slide transfers will shine directly through what's beneath, and any coloured ink will come through slightly more translucent. You can also buy laser printed ones, but to be honest with you, when I had my laser printer a few years ago, it was just a waste of time. They kept cracking, and I decided to go back to the inkjet ones, which were considerably more successful. So that's that bit. Now, secondly, onto the motor. Now, that's the 350 chassis that I've used for this. This same chassis is also in the 185, and I dare say in the 108 as well, but I don't have one of those. Now, if you remember from last week, I went and bought these, which was an A&E decoder, and there is a fly lead there for the Stay Alive, and that literally just plugs in, very much like the HM7000 Hornby ones. And as I said, I think you can use those with the Hornby decoders if you choose to, but not in this train because they won't fit. Now, this is the setup that we have, as I described to you before. We've got the motor in there, and then you've got this mini board with two prongs on it. Now, I've got this one off, so there's your two prongs, and they clip either inside or outside of those two motor prongs inside there. Doesn't matter which way round you have it, as long as they are clipping on. And then you've got power coming up through there. You see those brass contacts in there down both sides. They are connecting directly to the metal of the chassis. So we've got split chassis type arrangement. So that's obviously we need to make sure that power from the metal gets to this mini board and the decoder. And they do that via two screws, which screw directly into the metal and then clip on to brass sections on the mini board, and it's the screw heads that kind of make the contact. Now, when I fitted this up originally with both of these items, it did work, and you'll see in a second when I stop the train, there is power coming directly from the train. Let's have a look at that now. Right, as the train comes around here now, I'm going to stop it and lift this centre carriage off the track. Can you hear the whirring? That is quite a while, isn't it? So we're probably looking 6 to 8 seconds there, maybe. Now, it's never going to be a perfect train. You might even notice it sort of stutter there. Did you see that? Now, I think that might be because there's a little kink in the track. I don't know. But for whatever reason, it's doing it. It's never going to be perfect. But what I'm finding was the connection from this to here and those contacts in there are just failing. And as I said to you before, the metal around these holes, if I just show you there, it's not big enough, or the bolt heads are not big enough to bind onto those properly. So, you know, I decided in the end to get rid of that board and to use one of these separate 6-pin sockets with a harness, as you can see there, wiring on the end. So I took the grey and orange wire, you might be able to make them out there, and I literally just soldered them to those tabs there, put the wire through the hole and twisted it, and then just put a dab of solder over the top, and then made sure with the scalpel blade that it wasn't touching this metal either side, because obviously that would create an instant short. And then after that, I took the red and black wires, so the red corresponding with the orange and the black corresponding with the grey in there. I literally just poked it down through the hole and then put the screw in, so that the wire is actually touching this metal directly, and that, as you can see, is working. Now, this is the longest I've had this train running for. I've had it running for about 10-15 minutes in the past, but this has been going for well over half an hour now, so I'm going to stop it and have it go the other direction. So I've changed direction there, and the train stops, and I'll have it going back the other way. So as you can see, the whole setup has worked with this hardwired arrangement, and I'm just so relieved. So I'll just let you enjoy that once more time, and then we'll see if we can get it running on Piccadilly. For the first time, I might add. Well, there you go. You can see the 185 just working its way through Piccadilly Station on platform 13 and off to wherever. Who knows where these trains go. But you can see it is running reasonably well, and I'm quite pleased with that. I'm not saying it's perfect. It isn't. And there has been times when the front carriage has derailed. If you notice there, it is bobbing about a bit, and it's that rear bogie of the front carriage that's sort of, causing the issue. I think it probably just needs a little bit of weight on it. So I'll sort that out, but there won't be any more dedicated videos on the 185. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I will catch you again very, very soon here on Piccadilly. You take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon.